Hi there, I'm Paul Bagnall. Welcome to Market Call today. Kim Bolton is on our program today. He's President and Portfolio Manager at Black Swan Dexteritas. He'll be taking your questions on what else but the technology stocks. Call us toll free. Our number, as always, is 1-855-326-6266, or send us an email to marketcall@bnnbloomberg.ca. We'll have almost a full hour of Kim and his expertise on the tech stocks. So get your calls and emails in. In the meantime, we'll chat with Kim to see where what his thoughts are on this current marketplace. And Kim, I think what a lot of viewers would be wanting to know is your thoughts on the NVIDIA results due after the close of trading today. What will you be looking at when you get your hands or your eyes on that release?
Well, it's almost like we planned it this way, right? Well, I think everyone knows that they're going to have a great quarter, 24.5, 25 billion in revenue, which is, my gosh, 3 times that of a year ago. People will be also looking at the margins. Think about it. The margins that NVIDIA has now, gross margins are 76%. It's phenomenal. But most importantly, they're going to be looking at the guidance. And so we're going to have to wait for, they'll probably give a little bit of guidance on the report, but then, when they have the analyst interviews and so on, that will be key to actually look out, into 2025 and what they're thinking. They've said that they're going to be sold out this year, and then see what the competition can do to them.
You say the AI revolution is both broadening and deepening. What does that mean to investors? Well,
it was all about the suppliers, the picks and shovels that go into this. There's chip makers, software companies, data equipment makers, the data center owners and operators. But now it's sort of spread into what people are calling AI grids, so the whole energy grid and how the energy is going to be sucked over into the AI ecosystem. So everyone's starting to participate.
What areas of AI do you like the best right now? Where are the best opportunities for investors?
I would still say that the end users are still trying to get some traction out of it. So I still believe this year is still going to be very much more about the picks and shovels, the suppliers, the chip suppliers, the designers, but also, the data centers, the amount of data that is going into this. And Paul, there aren't that many participants when it comes to the real data centers. There's Equinix and then there's Digital Realty. And those are the 2 main guys out there. So you got to have participation in that. You would think by this time, because if the AI revolution started back in like the fall of 2022, when OpenAI came out, you would think that the software guys would actually be getting some traction, but there's still some difficulty in sort of monetizing that.
That's Kim Bolton. Those are his early thoughts, including his thoughts on what he'll be looking for in the NVIDIA numbers due after the close today. We'll be back with Kim after this. He'll begin taking your questions. He's President and Portfolio Manager at Black Swan Dexteritas. So get a question in. Kim will begin taking your questions right after this. Okay, let's begin putting questions to Kim Bolton. Dave has written us an email message. His subject is Twilio, ticker symbol TWLO, on the New York Stock Exchange. Can I get Kim's look at Twilio?
Thanks for the question, Dave. This sort of falls into that software side of things. And if you look at, like, I don't know, 3 or 5 year chart, it just sort of climbs that mountain, then it sort of fell off and is sort of flatlined. This is just a great example of where people are trying to get an idea of how they're actually monetizing the AI component of their sort of platform as a service. So what they do is they're a cloud communications platform. So they sit in the cloud with this software, and the client's developers uses the APIs, the application programming interfaces, and other software tools to design specific cases to develop communication mechanisms amongst them, inside the cloud, but also with the customers outside. It's a great idea, but it's just difficult to monetize it. And so we got in and got out as it was climbing the mountain, and then it's just sort of flatlined. So, Dave, it's a difficult one. I got to wait for a couple of more quarters of earnings just to see how they're monetizing that AI side.
Okay, thanks for that question, Dave. Let's go to Skip. Skip has also written us an email message. Ticker symbol here is Zoom, that's ZM on the NASDAQ, and Roku, ticker symbol ROKU on the NASDAQ. Could I have Kim's current view of Zoom and Roku?
I was looking at this earlier today, and I think the only thing that Zoom and Roku have in common is that they're just not performing, which is pretty surprising because they're both, well, Zoom is definitely profitable. Last quarter they made, $330 million. Roku actually, they had gross profit of 388. So, they're profitable on the software side, but they just sort of flatlined. You can see it on the chart, and you're probably going to hear this more, and you'll see it certainly in the past picks and the top picks. You got to gravitate to the big guys because those are the ones with the muscle that have the cash to be able to spend on this, and they're actually turning a profit out of a lot of their AI side. Now, Roku, they have all the ingredients. They dominate the connected TV market with about 53% of the market share in North America. So they should do pretty well, but they're just having difficulty monetizing.
Where's the money in the connected TV market? Many of us, myself included, have a Roku TV at home. I know there are Roku TV channels that provide content with advertising. Is that where the money comes from?
Absolutely, out of the advertising, but they sort of have two sides of it. So there's the platform segment that includes the advertising and also sort of promotional spending. And then there's the devices, which is the actual Roku branded TVs. And they also have smart home products and services and audio products and so on. But that's where they make their money, on the licensing arrangements for that hardware, but also in the advertising.
Okay, thanks for that question on Zoom and Roku. Let's go to the phones for the first time in the show. John is calling from London. Hi, John, and thank you for your call.
Hi, Paul. Thanks very much. Kim Bolton, the titan of all things technology, perfect timing. I've been trying to add to my position in Celestica, but it just keeps going up and up and up. They have very innovative products including lower electrically demanding switches, which is providing a lot of profit. Is now the time to add to Celestica? Thank you.
Well, good job getting in there. Is it time? No, I wouldn't say it's time to add to it because right now it's trading, almost 74. The average analyst out there has a 12-month price target of $69.50, so it's already traveled through there. So what I would recommend, and you're probably going to be in a line with a lot of other people, but if you can pick it up a little more down around 70 and then down around 67 and then, if you're lucky, down around 63.5.
Okay, thanks for the question. Frida is in Chilliwack, BC. Hi, Frida.
Hi. I wondered what Kim would say about Shopify with the recent developments. Thank you, and the future down the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Frida. Actually, it's pretty topical today, Frida, because Goldman Sachs actually came out with a buy, and so it's given it a bit of a oomph. Currently trading right around that sort of Oh, that's the Canadian version, around 80. So that's the.
Would you rather a U.S. chart? Is that more instructive? Let's get a U.S. chart up if we can of
I
Shopify.
think it's trading just around $60 on the U.S. It's got a nice runway. It's on the U.S. trading out of. There it is, 59, and it's got a 12-month price target on the U.S. side of 81.75. So, as everyone knows, they reported a couple of weeks ago. It was a bit of a disappointment, not so much on the top and bottom line, but certainly on the guidance, and they saw some clouds on the horizon. Through the expanded partnerships, Shopify merchants have been able to manage and automate their global tax compliance with that new company that they brought in, Avalara. And so, yeah, they reported back on May the 5th. I think, Frida, if you can buy it, definitely here. And I'd also add another third down around 56 and another third down at 53.
Okay, thanks, Frida, for your call. We'll be back with Kim Bolton after this, President and Portfolio Manager at Black Swan Dexteritas. He'll continue taking your question on technology stocks. Let's keep the questions coming to Kim Bolton. Costa is in Montreal, and he's up next. Hi, Costa.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. Great show. I watch you every day.
Perfect.
Mr. Bolton, my tech guru, Constellation Software, I would appreciate your views. She's had a double in the last 2 years. Is it possible that she'll double again in the next 2 years? Thank you very much.
Ooh, Costa. In the next 3 years, so what it's currently trading Canadian, just around 3,700. We have 37.43. So we have a 12-month price target on Constellation of 3,980. This is just the poster child for Canadian technology, and so many others try to replicate it. And I guess the closest one is actually their sister company, Lumen. But I would actually still buy Constellation here. It is so well managed by Mark Leonard and his team. But you could buy it here right around 37.40. If you ever see it down anywhere around 35.50, that's a good place to buy it, and then down around 33.25. This is where do you start with it? So they started back in 1995. They've acquired over 260 companies. And the difference with Constellation, I always compare them, one hand you have something like a Microsoft, who has a number of products and services, and they spread that horizontally across a number of industries. Constellation is all about vertical integration. So they pick a certain segment of finance or entertainment or hospitals or whatever, and then they build the products and services to actually service that vertical. And it's a great way to actually, expand the business. It's funny that a lot of other companies don't sort of go that vertical direction, but I guess it's a knack that you sort of have to be able to do. But we still own it. We have a full position, 4.5% in the fund. We have it pretty well through most of our separately managed accounts.
Okay, thanks for the question.
Thanks, Costa.
Costa on Constellation Software. Let's go to Elliot. Elliot's on the line right now. What's your question to Kim Bolton, Elliot?
Good afternoon. Please, would you compare Visa and MasterCard? Which would you buy today? At what price? Thank you.
Thank you.
Elliot, that's a whole program. I would actually, let's see. When you look at MasterCard, you have Visa currently trading at 277.5. We have a 12-month price target of 315. And then with MasterCard, currently trading, if you could just pull it up, currently trading at 430, 460, and we have a 12-month price target of just up at that peak there at 490. So they both have, reasonable, and a lot of people actually do trades, pair trades on this, and so the pair trade these days is long the MasterCard and short the Visa, but it's sort of the flip of a coin right now. Good question, though, Elliot.
Okay, thanks for the question on the two big payment processors. Let's go to Jim. He's in Vancouver. Hi, Jim.
Hi. Mr. Bolton, my question, I'm a first-time caller.
Great.
And a long-time watcher, and it's a great show.
Great.
Now, about a year or so ago, you recommended Micron Technologies, MU, and you recommended that about 1 or so years ago, and it's had a nice run recently. Mm-hmm. Do you see any more upside over the next year?
Thanks, Jim, for the question. We've actually taken our profit, Jim, on Micron up at this level. So currently trading, I think it's right around 129, and the average analyst out there has a 12-month price target of 128. The whole semi side, both when it comes to the designers and the foundries and so on. Micron is a great example that they play both sides of it, not only the manufacturing and the foundry side of it, but they also do some of the designing too. So I think you can probably go a little further down the food chain. Some of the equipment suppliers are still, when it comes to the semiconductor side, there's the foundries, the designers, and then the equipment makers. There are some equipment makers, like an ASML, that does the lithography, the light side of the etching, which is a great example. Another one, which is we really like, but it's a lot smaller, is into Astera, ALAB. Currently, I think it's trading right around 75. We think it's a favorite for a lot of the big giants out there, and they actually manage inside the cloud to actually make the chips more efficient, more effective, and more energy efficient on it. And so we like that. But when it comes to Micron, it's pretty fully priced right now.
Okay, thanks for the question, Jim from Vancouver. Let's stick to Vancouver. Peter's on the line. Hi, Peter.
Sorry.
Okay, bless you. Peter's going to ask about Palantir. What are your thoughts on Palantir, Kim?
Yeah. I think, so it's currently trading right around just shy of 22. We actually just traded out of it because the 12-month price target that we have for it is about $23.75 US. So it's getting pretty close. It's really done fantastically well. Has two businesses. One side is the Gotham that services a lot of the government contracts that they get, and then the foundry, which is more for the private side. But the total addressable market for Palantir in here is $119 billion. With all the geopolitical events that are going on around the world, a lot of governments are attacking them. So they've also got pretty deep pockets from some of the private guys, especially out of Apollo. So I think, Peter, if you certainly keep it on your radar. I'd pick it up sort of down around close to 21, and then 20, and then down at 19. But I wouldn't quite touch it here.
Okay, thanks, Peter, for your question. Let's go to a break. When we come back, it'll be time to take a look at Kim Bolton's past picks right around the corner. back. It's time now for Past Picks. We'll travel back in time to July the 11th, 2023, so not quite a year ago. And one of Kim Bolton's top picks on that day was Marvell Technology, ticker symbol MRVL on the NASDAQ. You can see the numbers, a total return over that period of time of 18%. Kim.
Yeah, we actually took some profit on this. It would have been back in February, March, but then we more recently actually got back in because you can see how they reported. We got out, not on the way up, but on the way down, and then more recently we sort of picked it up. Their guidance previously was a bit difficult. But they reported back on March the 7th. They pretty well met both the top and bottom line, but then they guided below the estimates, and that's what the problem was. But it gave you a great opportunity. It just reminds you of Shopify, right? Shopify took a 20% haircut, and it gives you a great chance to get in. So anyway, back to Marvell. Marvell. So they're involved in sort of data infrastructure, semiconductor solutions, particularly in the data center. But they've also expanded over in the last few years into a thing called this complex system on a chip. You know, normally in the past, most of the computations have been done back in the data center, but now. With the explosion of AI and the chips and more power that you have, you can actually get those system on a chips out to the edge and actually into the devices. A number of companies have done well on that, but Marvell, as a designer and a developer and a supplier of those circuits, has really done quite well when it comes to the edge computing. So, you know, you could buy it here around 74.5. Buy another third down, just around $71, and then the final third around $67.
Okay. Number 2 on that day, Microsoft, one of the best known stocks in the world. You can see the return there, total return 31% since July of last year.
Well, think about it. July of last year, you had a pretty good run in the first half of the year, and then we certainly sort of bank some profits in a lot of the software companies, and then we put it over into the sort of Magnificent Seven. So currently trading right now around 4.25 US. We have a 12-month, so 431. We have a 12-month price target of 469. So there's just a little bit of a runway. So just for those, you know, when you think about the world's largest company, and try to put it into perspective. So we always sort of look at it, it has sort of 3 segments that it plays in. Sort of the business processing segment, which is all about the Office 365, but now actually includes the Microsoft 365 Copilot. Then you have the whole intelligent cloud segment, which really has a lot of of course, Azure for the data center side, but it also has that Visual Studio and a number of enterprise services. And then the third sort of business line that they have in here is the personal computing segment, which is all about Windows and devices, but it also includes the gaming. So they just have an awful lot of horses in the race. The one thing I'll mention about Microsoft, and the big deal these days, is this MAIA, and MAIA 100 chip. And this is one of the chips that is supposed to be able to go head-to-head with the NVIDIA chips that they had, and also the Bellwether that they have coming out. So, and of course, you know, they also have that OpenAI side of it. They just have tremendous amount of things going on. So buy it here around 4.25. Remember that sort of 469, 470 price target. If you ever see it down close to 400, pick it up, and then down around 375.
Okay, and number 3 on that day, Meta Platforms, another mega cap tech stock, META on the NASDAQ, total return 58%.
which is interesting, right? Because they outperformed, certainly over the last year, they outperformed Microsoft, and they're probably pretty equal to that of Google. And of course, comparing Google with Meta, it's all about advertising. Google gets their advertising from the search side, right? But on the Meta, it's all about generating. So they don't have the search side, but they have the generation side. And so they do have different advertisers out there. So currently trading, around 471. We have a 12-month price target of 526. So I think you could pick it up here, but remember, down at levels like around 445 and certainly around 420 is a good place to buy.
Okay. Those are Kim Bolton's past picks and how they returned over the period from July 11th last year to today: Marvell Technology, Microsoft, and Meta Platforms. We want to take a moment to say thanks and happy birthday to a longtime viewer of Market Call. Dominic Trotty has been watching the show for years and uses the insights of our guests as one of his inputs into the portfolio decisions he makes as he manages his family's investments. Dominic works as a dentist in Woodbridge, Ontario. His wife, Amanda, also a dentist, brought Dominic to downtown Toronto today, and as a complete surprise to Dominic, into our newsroom, where the couple met some of the BNN Bloomberg team. And Dominic's daughter, Serena, had this cake made to celebrate the big day. That's got to be a first, a BNN Bloomberg birthday cake. We like it. Dominic, from all of us at BNN Bloomberg, happy birthday. We'll be back with Kim Bolton right after this. He's president and portfolio manager at Black Swan Dexteritas. Welcome back. Let's resume with your questions to Kim Bolton. Carl is in Toronto, and he's our next caller. Carl, thanks a lot for calling.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. Kim, about 18 months ago, you spoke about Converge Technology Solutions, and you were pretty favorably disposed to the company, and I think you had a target of the mid-eights at that time. And then the year progressed, and when you were on in September, you were less enthused because you thought it was a very competitive industry, and you were worried that they weren't making any profits. Well, I think the company listened to you. They hired pretty much of a crackerjack CFO, and they seem to be much more focused on the bottom line now. And as a result, they're integrating their acquisitions instead of just continuing to acquire more companies. And they've had some good share buybacks. They're lowering their float. And as a result, the stock price has almost doubled since you spoke about it last September. So with that in mind, I'm wondering whether you're now more favorably disposed to CTS, and if so, how you see the company going forward from here.
Thanks, Carl. Wow, I should hire you. So yeah, we've been following it, and with the new expertise that they brought into the company, it's really sort of come up on the radar. We have a 12-month price target right up at that peak there around the 6.25 level. Which isn't that, it's $1 away. I think if you actually can sort of break that top, Carl, I think that will be an opportunity to actually get back in. And you can see it sort of roar back up toward, if it goes through that 6.25, it's got that sort of 6.75, and then there's nothing between there and like $10. So Carl, we don't own it right now. We're watching it very, very carefully. Thanks for doing your homework on that. And yeah, if it goes over 6.25, we'll be back in.
Okay, thanks for the call, Carl. Let's go to Brad now. Brad's in Markham, Ontario. Hi, Brad.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm calling today about Arista Networks. Kim, can you explain what they do and whether you own it or would recommend it? Thanks.
Thanks, Brad. We don't own it. We follow it very, very closely. You can see it just sort of turned over recently, and really very much because of Cisco that came out and gave their earnings, I think it was just last week. And they seem to be getting some market share. So currently trading right around that 319. A lot of the analysts, including ourselves out there, are sort of around anywhere from sort of 305 to 3.25. So it's sort of fully priced right now. Actually, Carl or Brad, I'd actually recommend, if you own Arista, I'd hold on to it. And if you have some money that you were going to invest in Arista, I'd actually put some into their competitor, Cisco. By the way, the management team, or the very senior management team of Arista, actually came from Cisco. That was many, many moons ago.
Okay, thanks, Brad, for your call on Arista. Let's go to Vancouver. Katie's on the line. Hi, Katie.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I just want to find out, Taiwan Semiconductor was always around 100 or lower, and then now it's starting to move up quite a bit. So is it still a good time to buy, and what is the future prospect?
Thanks, Katie. Currently trading right around that 154. 156. The average analyst out there, Katie, has a 156 price target, right where it is right now. So it's pretty, but they're running at 100% plus some. It'll be interesting to see how it actually pans out tonight with NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is one of the biggest, Taiwan Semiconductor's biggest clients. So, Katie, I wouldn't sell it, but with it trading up at this level, I'd actually write some calls. And the volatility on Taiwan Semiconductor means you can probably get some pretty good premium out of writing calls up around that sort of 159 to 160 level. And it'll keep you in it as long as you just track it and you just don't get traded out of it and get taken out of your position.
Okay.
That's what I'd recommend.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Let's go to Frank. Frank's calling from Mississauga. Hi, Frank.
Hi, thanks for taking my call, Tim. You definitely need to be on BNN more often. My question was for A-Lab, but I think you touched on it when you spoke about Micron. So I don't know if you want to expand on that. I was listening to NVIDIA's CEO's announcement, I think yesterday, with what they did with Dell, and they were talking to ServiceNow CEO as well, and specifically ServiceNow CEO spoke about the use cases and the adoption from a software perspective, and that made me kind of think about it from an infrastructure, specifically A-Lab that provides, which will provide the computational power across the communication layer.
Okay, we lost our connection, but A-Lab is the question.
I got to say, it's amazing, having done this program over the number of years, how well educated your audience has become.
I agree 100%.
Right?
I agree 100%.
And so hats off to all of you. Astera, this actually, just IPO'd maybe 2 months ago. It was actually, if I remember correctly, it was priced at $38, opened at $58, scooted all the way up to the 88, around 88, and then has sort of come back. So Astera, their product is high-speed connectivity solutions, leveraging technologies that CXL and so on, which are basically retimers and switchers and related sort of hardware. But basically what they do is that they actually just make the data in the data centers run quicker on less energy. And so it's much more high performance interconnect technologies. It comes out of Israel, where a lot of these AI, just think about NVIDIA. Like NVIDIA picked up a company back, in 2017, I think it was, Mellanox. And they are the brains behind the whole AI revolution out there. And we really sort of look at Austera. You know, I wouldn't put a lot of money, but I would recommend that a lot of your listeners put a small portion in here. You know, you can buy it here right around, we're currently trading at around 72, 73. If you ever see it down in the low 60s, you can buy it again. I really doubt that it's going to go under $60, and I think this is going to be a star performer out years ahead. They're very much participating in this whole AI trend in the infrastructure side and the machine learning, data analytics applications. And so, yeah, love this. Thank you very much for the call.
Okay. Thanks for that question. We'll be back with Kim Bolton once again. He's president and portfolio manager at Black Swan Dexteritas. He'll resume taking another batch of questions from you, the viewer, on tech stocks right after this. Welcome back. Let's keep the questions coming, at least for one more segment here on the show. Kapil is calling from Oakville. Thank you, Kapil, for your call. What's your question to Kim Bolton?
Hello. Thank you so much for taking my call. My question is regarding Fastly, which is a cloud computing services provider. I bought a couple of years back during COVID surge for around $80, and now, as we know, is under $10. So, like, what's the future of the company? What's going on, and what are your thoughts in general? Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kapil. Kapil, you should give us a call once in a while when you buy some of the, not profitable ones. I love this company of Fastly because they're as Kapil was saying, they're a cloud computing services provider. But where they're very, very much skewed to is toward that edge computing. Rather than in the data center, they actually put their products and services out on the edge in devices. And it provides content delivery network. It also has a security component, load balancing, video and streaming services. The biggest problem with Fastly, as with some of these, is that they're trying their best to be profitable. They're reporting well. The revenues are sort of in line. They did have to cut their guidance back when they reported on May 1st. Kapil, you've hung in there here this long. I'd actually write some calls against this and try to recoup some of that money. I know it's a lot of money to recoup, but you can write some calls, and I think that's probably the best place. I wouldn't buy it here. I think the average 12-month price target is up at $16.85. So it does have a good runway, but I wouldn't buy it right here.
Okay, let's go to Lawrence. He's in London, Ontario. Hi, Lawrence, and thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. My daughter would like to invest in a security company. Which company would you suggest?
That sounds like cybersecurity. Is that what you're talking about, Lawrence?
Yes, correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Paul, what's the ETF? If you're going to buy one, there's the famous ETF. We haven't used in quite a while, but
I'm on it.
I would. So Lawrence, when it comes to
the Evolve Cybersecurity Index one, that's a Canadian one. The
HACK. It's called HACK. HACK.
Okay.
Lawrence, that's where I'd go to, because you'll get all of the major cybersecurity companies in there.
That is called the Amplify, correct, Kim? The Amplify Cybersecurity ETF.
HACK.
HACK is the Amplify Cybersecurity ETF. We can't put a graph up there, unfortunately, but it is an exchange-traded fund in the U.S. Seeking to provide investment results that correspond to the performance of the Prime Cybersecurity Defense ETF.
Yeah, just to leave it, if you want one, Lawrence, I'd buy CrowdStrike. And if you want to have a little bit more risk, buy Sentinel-1.
Okay. Lawrence, thank you very much for your call on cybersecurity. So the answer from Kim was HACK, the ETF in the U.S., and CrowdStrike, correct?
CrowdStrike, and if you want to take a little bit more risk that competes with CrowdStrike is SentinelOne.
Okay. Thanks to everybody who put a question into Kim Bolton. That's all the time we have for calls and questions today, but Kim Bolton's top picks are coming up next. Time now for Kim Bolton's top picks on this day. Number one today, Cisco Systems, ticker symbol CSCO on the NASDAQ. Kim?
Thanks. Before I go on, I'm sorry if I didn't get everyone's questions answered or we didn't get a chance, but please, if you have any questions, just give us a shout at Black Swan Dexteritas, and we'd love to chat with you. So, number one, Cisco. And you'll see a theme here. So there's Cisco, there's Western Digital, and also Digital Realty. And the theme here is the expansion in the AI ecosystem, very much into the infrastructure. You could say, we could talk about the energy grid on one side, but the infrastructure is so key, especially with all the chips that are out there into the data centers. And so, Cisco is involved in the networking and infrastructure side, data management, security, and then they've also brought out a lot of AI and machine learning tools to go around to work within that infrastructure out there. So currently trading about $47. We have a 12-month price target of $53, so it still has a very reasonable runway going ahead. They just reported. I always used to look at, that's sort of the fundamental side. It is trading sort of at the higher range of what it has in the last couple of years. I always sort of looked at Cisco as sort of being like the IBM. It just sort of didn't move. However, they had a great report, surprised everyone by actually raising their guidance. They have a lot going on in the whole AI space, all the way from the security to the machine learning side. So I think this is a really good one to be a core holding in a portfolio.
Okay. Cisco Systems, number one. Number two, Western Digital, ticker symbol WDC on the NASDAQ. Kim?
Once again, Western Digital is sort of a boring stock, and then it's just sort of taken off. What it's involved in is data storage solutions, and then also data management. And then finally, where they've sort of carved out, and we've talked about it a few times over the last hour, is on the edge computing. So it's currently trading right around that sort of just over $73. It still has, look at the way it's rocketed off, but it actually reported back on April 25th, and people have raised, so it's not going to report for a little while. And the average analyst out there has an 87.25 12-month price target. So even though it's sort of gone up a lot recently, it's still got a very, very decent runway. And it does have that niche of data storage, data management, and also carving out the infrastructure side for that edge computing.
Okay, and the last one is in a sector that gets a fair bit of attention these days. You mentioned this company briefly at the beginning of our show, along with one of its peer group companies, Digital Realty Trust.
Mm-hmm. We sort of go back and forth between Equinix and Digital Realty, and more recently, in the last couple of weeks, So if you go back about a month and a half ago, Hildenberg, the short, sort of muddy waters people actually came out with an article, and they were very suspect about their accounting side. And so it sort of traveled over. We didn't want to sort of fight the tape, so we got out of the way. We really like the space of being involved in the data center side. There are two pure plays out there, Equinix and Digital Realty. Now, the main difference between Equinix and Digital Realty owns most of the data centers. Equinix sort of co-locates with a lot of their customers on that. The other thing that has sort of made us nervous about the Equinix is because there's this thing called a death cross, where the 50-day moving average cuts through the 200-day moving average, and it's usually not a very good thing for a stock. So
that's happened recently, has it, to Digital Realty?
Yeah. To Equinix.
Okay.
Equinix. And so they just reported on May 2nd. They beat in the top and the bottom. They actually raised their guidance. So we have a 12-month price target of 162.5, and right now it's trading just over 143.
Kim Bolton, thank you a great deal, as always, for being here today.
Thanks a lot.
Kim Bolton and his expertise on tech stocks. We always grateful to have Kim, and always grateful, of course, to have the stars of the show, the viewers, call in with their questions. Thank you so much. Let's take a quick look at markets before we hand the day over to trading day. U.S. markets, there you have them. They are down modestly, a very even pace of modest declines. Of course, all three of these major indices are not far off their record highs. That's it for Market Call. As always, please consult a qualified financial advisor before making your investment decisions. Hope to see you tomorrow right here on Market Call.